Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers from around the world. I'm Fiona Langsharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, I'm back with you here today talking with Sarah Oakley. We're going to be chatting with her in just a moment as she's coming to our live tongue tie symposium. Now, this symposium is right around the corner. You're not going to want to miss a beat here today. Head on over to our website at goldlearning.com to find out all the details of this symposium. As I mentioned, coming up for most of you on the 12th and 13th of September, but you know to check your time zone. So when you log into our website, you'll see that it'll indicate the country that you reside in, and then that way it will come up with the exact time zone for you. You can check everything out on the dashboard for this particular event. Now, we're so excited to have Sarah Oakley back with us once again. And Sarah, of course, was here with us prior at a Gold Learning event. So welcome back to you, Sarah. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you for inviting me back, Fiona.
Yeah, it's so lovely to have you here. Now, I know it's been a minute, I think, since you were back, but so many things have happened over the last few years. So why don't you just refresh us again where you are in the world and let us know what you've been doing?
I live in Ely in the UK, which is in Cambridgeshire. So the nearest city to me is Cambridge, and that's where my private practice is based. It's been an interesting couple of years with the whole COVID thing. Spent a lot of time online, like we all did in the first year of COVID. Had to see everybody online before I could see them face to face. We were very lucky in the UK that we were allowed, as nurses and midwives, we were allowed to continue doing some face to face work. So we were allowed to see those clients that were priority for face to face care. And obviously, in relation to tongue tie, that has to be done face to face. So we were lucky to continue with that. Things have kind of pretty much got back to normal now, fortunately. And alongside all of that, I've continued, to obviously see clients, but do various training things, lots of online training over the last couple of years. And my book was released last year in August, finally. So that was kind of written through the pandemic and then published kind of during time when that was still having an impact, because it was delayed a couple of times because of various COVID related things with publishing and printing and stuff. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the last couple of years, really, and continuing on with all the usual stuff,
Yeah, keeping busy, I'm sure. And yes, we've all had to work around some of those parameters. And like you said, you were fortunate that you did have some access to clients during COVID to priority wise. It was actually fairly similar for myself in my private practice here in Canada. There was a few bumps in the road initially where things were not prioritized, and quickly they resolved those things, recognizing predominantly that postpartum, actually prenatal, and birthing parents and postnatal parents really needed to be prioritized within the home. And so I think that was really wonderful for those parents, but it was definitely a little scary at times, when you trying to figure out how you're going to support your parents, because let's face it, Sarah, our parents are in need. They don't come to us if they don't have a problem generally.
No. We're often that kind of last resort as well after they've exhausted other avenues, aren't we? So they're often quite desperate. And in the UK, our NHS services were obviously very focused on caring for people with the COVID virus, and on reducing workload to allow the hospitals to absorb that extra work from the COVID virus. And that, caused quite a few problems for things that were seen as more routine, like breastfeeding support. So actually face-to-face breastfeeding support in terms of breastfeeding groups, breastfeeding counsellors, that kind of thing. And IBCLCs, for about a year, really, they were very restricted in what face-to-face they could do, if they could do face-to-face at all. But as I'm a nurse, IBCLC, and I provide tongue tie division, we were kind of able to get around that. But my colleagues who are IBCLCs, and that's their qualification, a lot of them, had a good year or more without actually seeing people face to face. And my breastfeeding support group was shut for 18 months before we got that back.
Yes, that's what I understood.
So that kind of thing was very slow. So we were often the only person people were seeing. And in terms of midwifery and health visiting, that all went to being minimal contact. Health visiting in the UK was all done online. So quite often we were seeing mums, and we were the only professional they'd seen since day 5. You know, they saw the midwife at day 5 and then they weren't seeing anybody else.
Right.
So we came across a few scary situations through that where, you know, things had been missed, things hadn't been picked up on.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was a very tricky time.
Yeah, I can concur to that too. Yeah, it was a difficult time, and I think that's the focus of a lot of the research now, is just looking at what we can do better, and you know, in a time where there is a pandemic, anticipating that and making sure that we're prioritizing the needs of our families is so valuable. And I think we've learned a lot of lessons, you know, from the things that we've done. And boy, that's a whole big topic. But you know, the reason that I wanted to ask you, of course, about you know your time in the last couple of years is because that's what you know your presentation is going to have some focus on. And the title of Sarah's presentation is in fact COVID-19 and the implications for tongue-tied division in infants. And primarily that's why you know we wanted to hear from you, Sarah. I know you've talked about this and written about it, and you have a lot of experience in it. So what can folks anticipate coming to your presentation and in terms of at our event here?
I'm hoping that it's going to be an opportunity for people to discuss, you know, their own experiences. The focus of the presentation is very much on the UK situation, because when you asked me to do this talk and I went online, I found quite a lot of studies and reports and bits and pieces of research about what the impact of COVID was on breastfeeding support, but the whole issue of tongue-tied division was kind of glossed over. And it was mentioned, you know, perhaps, oh, and parents struggled to access tongue-tied division, but it was not really, you know, focused on. And so I put out some surveys to parents and professionals to get some feedback on what their experiences had been during the pandemic in relation to accessing tongue-tied services and providing them. So it is very UK focused, but I'm hoping through the presentation that we'll be able to stop and have discussion points where people will be able to share what it was like for them in their locality and how they feel it impacted their practice and their families that they saw, and what the long-term impact of that is going to be, because I think we've all learned a lot from it. And I think some services may have been enhanced by that whole learning process, but there may be other services that, you know, are struggling to get back to, you know, how they were pre-COVID still. So it will be really interesting for me to learn about how it has been for other people, because there's not a lot written about it anywhere. You know, it's been kind of glossed over, and the focus has been very much on the impact on breastfeeding support where there's been research done and things. So hopefully it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. And of course, you know, we've chatted about this, you know, about the element of, you know, a lot of that research and of course you coming from, you know, the UK, but of course we have so many people from around the world. So you heard it here first. We're actually relying on a lot of you to come to this presentation and really share some of your experiences. I think we need to draw on each other at this time. This will be all about, you know, really preventative medicine moving forward in the future, because we don't know, you know, in terms of what lies ahead, we could be in this situation again, and we really want to do better. And I think there's lessons throughout this process that we're all evaluating ourselves personally and professionally, you know, and in the broader spectrum of things on, you know, what some countries were able to do and some weren't, and how to resolve ultimately some of those issues that did arise when there were things where care was not primary, you know, in our communities. I think that's going to be so invaluable to so many of us. So I'm actually, I don't know everything that's in Sarah's presentation either. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Sarah. And you're so good at translating information and sharing it out to this audience. So I'm excited to have you back here, as I mentioned, at Gold Learning. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me back. I'm really pleased to be here.
Yeah, of course. Now, before I let you go, I did want you just to mention once again, you talked about your book. We knew it was coming out, anticipation. So why don't you give us just a little bit of a promo here in the sense, what's the book called and where can people get it?
It's called Why Tongue Tie Matters, and it's published by Pinter and Martin, and you can get it from Amazon very easily. You can get it directly from Pinter and Martin as well, and all the good, Book Depository and all the big booksellers have it. But most people seem to be getting it from Amazon. You can buy it direct from me, and I'll send you a signed copy. And I have sent quite a few abroad, as well as a lot around the UK. So if you go to my website, you can buy it from there as well, and I'll send you out a signed copy. I've got one. Can I just spin around? And I have a little copy here. Look, I can show you.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I think I've seen it online. Yeah.
I'm rubbish with cameras, as you can tell.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. That's great. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And this book is for, provides education on infant feeding for tongue tie for healthcare professionals and breastfeeding supporters, right? In private, public sectors.
Yeah, and it was actually written very much, initially, it was very much for parents, actually. But I quickly realized as I was writing it that it needed to be for a wider audience, really. So it is written in a very kind of, non-technical way. So it's written, I hope, so that anyone can pick it up and get something out of it. So I've had a lot of parents read it who said they found it really, really helpful, but I've also had a lot of professionals who've read it too. It's fully referenced, so it's, full of references and everything. So it's very useful for professionals from that point of view. But it is written in a very kind of friendly way, and it's not too technical, and I've tried to explain things in a way that somebody with no knowledge of feeding or tongue tie or anatomy would understand.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. I've been talking to a lot of the professionals coming in for this event. I think that we need to have material like yours, because there is still a lot of misunderstandings, honestly, Sarah, in the field. There's a lot of judgment, in terms of what is happening and how it's happening. And folks like yourself, who are work very closely with families all the time in this area, know how hard it can be for families to even make this decision. It's not always easy. And often, as we mentioned, when they come to us, they're at breaking point, honestly, sometimes. And, we're just here to serve them and try to support them on their individual journeys. So yeah, thank you for that. And I know many people in the UK appreciate your service. And as I mentioned, we'll look forward to hearing more about what happened in your time. Well, I guess we're still working with COVID-19 in many places, as we continue to sort of evolve in this matter too. Well, thank you again, Sarah. It's been great chatting with you here today.
You too, Fiona. Thank you very much.
Can't wait to have you at our symposium. Now, Sarah is going to be with us live, which is one of the unique ways that you can connect with Sarah live during her presentation. We're anticipating a lot of engagement, as she mentioned, during that time. We want you to share, what's been happening. We want to know what your opinions are, and we can't wait to involve you and engage you in that manner. But Sarah will be here, of course, live at the event, as will many of our presenters. So the opportunity is yours right now to go to the website at goldlearning.com, register for this event. It's over 2 days, so it is jam-packed. I always recommend clear your schedule. But come and enjoy and embrace this learning. And if you can't come to the live events, of course, it'll be recorded for your pleasure. You'll be able to come back and listen to it over and over again. So we can't wait to see you online. Thank you again for joining me here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye for now, everyone.